So we're back to Chronicles, and if you remember 2 days ago, we spoke about how David, in the twilight of his life, was, using his gifts as a planner to organize things for the temple ahead of Solomon's reign. So in First Chronicles 26 to 29, we'll see things that David did during that time. The gatekeepers were Levites assigned to protect the tabernacle. In Numbers 152 and 53, we'll see this. There you'll see the details of this. The latter guarded the temple, and they were from the Korathite and the Merarite clans. There were many gates along the walls of the city, which meant a need for lots of gatekeepers, lots of people to protect it. The temple faced east, as it was regarded the direction of the highest honor. So the east gate was regarded as the most important gate, right? This is the gate that Jesus will come through, during his second coming, right? And B, it is also known as the King's Gate. The king's treasures were filled with the king's treasury, because David's treasury was filled with the spoils of war, and the Levites given charge over them were from the sons of Gershon and 4 Kohathite families, including Moses's. The military division was tasked with protecting the kingdom. They were like the diplomats sent to serve in all the 12 divisions, with 24,000 men each month. So it was like a rotation. So everyone, now I wondered about that, because there'll be some people that, when you work, for 1 month, you get 11 months off. But I guess it was very important for diplomatic, relations with, around Israel. The captain of the armies of the first month was a descendant of the tribe of Judah. This was highlighting the prominence of Judah among the tribes of Israel. A head is appointed for each tribe, as we see. In 23, we see that we see actually why David shouldn't have ordered that census in the first place. And we also see that Joab never finished the census. He didn't complete it because of God's wrath against Israel, because the plague broke out, so he couldn't even finish counting the Israelites. And remember, Joab was hesitant to do it even from jump. In the list of other state officials, we see that foreigners too were given duties to oversee lands and produce for Israel. And an Ishmaelite, we could see that, So for an Ishmaelites were given charge over camels. Hagrites were given charge over flocks, etc. I thought that was quite interesting. But then, because I believe that because those ones had probably, been absorbed into Israel, because they never did move, they, were part of them, and David gave them some responsibilities. 28 gives more insight into Solomon's charge to build the temple from 1 Chronicles 22. David legitimized Solomon's claim to the throne by tracing his heritage to Judah and letting all know that Solomon was chosen by God to be his son and to sit on the throne and to build his temple. He reminded Solomon to be loyal to God, believing in him, and by having his heart turned towards God all the time. He assured Solomon of God's steadfastness, but most likely drawing from his own experiences. That's David's own experiences, because remember, David was quite experienced in the ups and downs of serving God. So drawing from his own experiences with God, and also giving him some feedback as the king of Israel. David donated over 200,000 pounds of gold from his personal stash. Imagine that. And as a time and and as a true king, he led by example, and all the other Israelites were now inclined to donate as well when he asked. So, I think that's a leadership tip right there. Like, he started it, he led the giving, and the Israelites joined in contributing towards the building project. They gave rejoicing and willingly, and they were very excited. David praised God for the response of the people, acknowledging that all they had to give came from him alone. So nobody was giving anything that they didn't already have. And what they had was given to them by God. And we'll see more of this in 29:14-16. David is humbled by the opportunity and willingness for himself and the people to give towards the building of the temple. First Chronicles closes out with David passing on the throne to Solomon. He ruled Israel for 40 years, 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. He died at a good old age after his son took over from him as king. In Psalm 27, which we read, we'll see that this is one of the 2 psalms written by Solomon. Also is one of the songs of ascent. He says that God gives genuine rest to those who depend on him. His reference to building and watching over a house in vain essentially stresses the necessity of depending on God, and all human efforts is worthless without God and his blessing. Remember that psalm, he who watches the house watches in vain if the Lord doesn't watch the house. It's a reminder that only what God initiates will be sustained and fulfilled. And here's what I learned about God from reading these chapters. God is the source of all things. David says this several times as a reference to all the things and resources made available for the temple and for the building of the temple. All we can ever give to God is what he's already given to us first. Not just money, but everything else. Time, talent, skill, service, everything. We don't have anything of our own. Everything we give to God was generated by him, so we should be willing to give and also give generously. That was what I learned today. I hope you learned something as well. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow with the Psalms, sharing from Psalm 111 to 118. Have a good day. Bye.